I thought we ought to take these little fender marker lights apart, see what we got. It says 1130 Joseph Lucas Limited in England on the bottom. We've got one of them has a little rubber insulator, one doesn't. Housing kind of loose in there. Take this little screw out, see what we got there. King of the Road, I think, is what that little tag says. See what's inside here. Oh, there we go. We just popped it right off there. Well, there's not a lot to see. Just a just a socket. It's kind of interesting. You got this. You can't even see that down in there. You got that big giant bolt screwed in there, and it's and it's right up against the socket. I'm sure. Yeah, there you go, dropsies. I'm sure that's not the right bolt. And the rear one has got about, looks to be 27 washers on it, but I don't know if it was originally some kind of a spring or what was going on there. We'll have to try to clean that up a little bit and see if that's some kind of special bolt, because we have the same thing basically in the other one. Here's the front bolt, and the other one is quite a bit different than the one that was in there. One's fine thread, one's coarse thread. So once we do that, then I guess we can take this out of here, the socket, and the housing looks pretty good. Got one little dinkle in it right there. We might be able to work that out. Get in there with a tool on the bead bag and just kind of keep pushing pressure on that and work it back and forth. Even a wooden panel, we can generate a little bit of friction maybe and push that little dent out. We'll probably work on that. And then we have this socket. Just a single filament bulb. It actually doesn't seem too bad. I don't know why it had this big giant screw in there, but it was screwed in so far that it was clear up against the socket. And I would assume that this works. I guess we could try it and see. 12 volts. Our lens is it's not clear. It's what you might call translucent. It's kind of frosted, so that looks all right. And I think that rim will clean up a little bit with some real fine steel wool. Well, let's take the other one apart and see what we got with it. Hopefully the same thing. Yeah. Lens is a little different on this one. It's got a texture on the inside. that this one is smooth on the inside, so I don't know what the deal is there. It's almost like two different lights or two different covers anyway, lens covers. And this one's different on the inside as well. Got our pad. It's marked 1130 on the bottom, but it's a different stamping on the bottom, one from the other. And this one, the plate, this plate doesn't come out. It's in there. Drop the bulb out. It's got a different socket, and I don't know if it's hard to tell if it's riveted in there or soldered in there or what, but the socket is in there permanently. So somewhere along the line these two lights are a little different for some reason, and not a lot we can do about that. I suspect that it would be a good idea to try to figure out how to permanently mount this socket frame into the housing so it's grounded properly and not knocked all over the place. Well, we're working on this dent, and we've got a little tool here with a ball welded on the end, and what we're trying to do is a little rubber pad here is basically lay this down here on a hard surface and take this ball tool and just work it back and forth over that dent, just pushing down and working back and forth. See if we can generate a little heat from the friction of moving it back and forth, and at the same time work that dent out a little bit. And it's coming. And we've got our little plastic pity pad hammer, and we'll come out here and just work the crown down a little bit. And that'll relieve some of the stress on that dimple, hopefully, and allow it to come back out. But it's, I mean, you can still see it there, but it's about half of what it was before. And we got our jury rig power unit here hooked up. We'll see if this light works. Oh, look at that. Pretty bright, actually. So it all works. We just have to figure out how to fasten that plate inside the light. And we worked on the dent a little bit. It's still there. We work on it a little bit more, but we're just taking that little tool. I got another little tool here, a little rod, and we may need to make another little tool of some kind with a little bit of angle on it and the ball, just so we can get a little closer to the dent. The other ball tool we have, it's a little big. So we just have to work on something, getting the right tool to get in there and push the last little part of that dent out. Trying to be careful here because I think this is plated. I don't think it's stainless. So I think it's plated, and if we monkey around in there too much and monkey up the plating, then we didn't accomplish anything. So you got to be careful there. But We'll go through the other one. It's pretty good shape, I think, and we'll make sure it works. And like I said, the socket's fastened in there nicely, so I think it'll be all right. We cleaned it up with some steel wool, polished up nice. It's got a dent right there. We may try to work that out as well. That was a little easier to get at, being right there at the edge of the housing, but it's down underneath where you can't hardly see it anyway, so we'll see what we can do with that one. Yeah, I think we finished working on our little fender lights here. We drilled a hole up through this bottom of this one. And it's probably not on the approved list of things to do, but we did it anyway. The rubber pad will cover that. I won't tell if you won't. And ran a pop rivet up through into the plate for the socket, so that socket now is riveted to the housing and makes a good ground, and the light works, so we're good there. We also worked a little bit more on our dent here. It's not completely gone, but it's good enough for who it's for. And one of the things we did is we found an old push rod. It's got a nice little ball on the end. Put a little kink in it so we get some leverage, so we could get down in there and work that ball across that dent and work it out a little farther. We also have a couple little tools like this. The little T-bars on these particular tools weren't long enough, but you can see you could make something like that for yourself. Put it in a vise, and then this just becomes like a little anvil that you can stick back in there and help work your dents out. Whatever it takes, you got to figure out how to get in there and work the dents out. But I think these two fender lights now are ready to go, and I think we've run out of piddly little jobs to do, and we're gonna have to go ahead and put the engine in the car. I think there's no way to avoid it. That's going to be the next step.